Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Actix here, finally bringing you guys another tutorial. And as requested, I'm going to be showing you guys in this video how to design a custom logo, like template, or basically the setup for you or your clanmates. So first things first, you're going to have to pick whether or not you want it to be 3D or 2D. So I'm just going to go for 3D design because this is more professional and looks better in my opinion. So let's just get right into it. You're going to have your logo. Make sure you have an AI. Hold Alt on your keyboard. Click Extrude NURBS. There we go. Let's go to the Object tab and increase the depth a bit. There we go. That should be good. And now we're going to do, there's many different ways of doing logo setups. But I've noticed that the very popular one nowadays is having the circle with a very bright color and then putting a nice material on the logo. So first, let's just do that. Bring in a cube. See the orientation right here. Make it Z minus. I would let's see. Turn down the radius a bit, and then make this all the way down. And then you're just gonna push this behind, all the way behind the logo. There we go. It's a bit too thick. And I think we're just going to increase this a little bit. Alright. Let's just fix the no. Oh, there you go, radius. And thinner. I'm just going to make the logo a bit thinner too because it looks good proportion. And there we go. So we've got our logo. And what I like to do is usually I like to make the logo be a tad bit larger than the circle. And so then obviously let's just bring in the material. So double click here. We've got a color. And this is my basic material like setup. So if you guys want to copy it, that's fine. Right click the sphere up here. Object, soft shadow, there you go. Go to the color tab, click on color, and I'm just gonna make it like a greenish. That, uncheck specular, go to reflection, texture, Fresnel. So I know this is kind of fast, but you guys can just pause the video and go back to it. And then just turn down the brightness and the mix strength here. So that'll give you a bit of a reflection on the material, which will look pretty good. Let me just bring in a Lightroom very quickly. Not my Lightroom that I use, so very quick, just for the sake of the video. And then let's see, for the logo, I'm just going to use a scratched material, so load texture, scratched metal, no. Then you're going to click on copy channel right here. And then you're going to go to the bump layer, and then go to the arrow, load, wait, where is it? Paste channel. And then just turn up the strength all the way up to 100. And basically bump, what it does is, as you can see here, on 0, it's got no indentations, but if it's on 100, based on the image, it'll like put little indents and scratches into it, so it looks more realistic. Now, the rotation or the inclination of the logo is one of the biggest parts of this, so you're just going to want to select both. Go to your rotate tool, and then just, what I do a lot is just rotate up and to a side. So just like that. And then obviously make sure your logo looks sort of natural on here because the rotation kind of messes it up. There we go, that should be okay, like that. And so let's just make sure your render settings are good, so you're going to go to output. I usually render them with the preset, which is 1024 by 768. Then on save, you want to make sure that the format is PNG and alpha channel is selected. This is essential if you want to make sure that there's no background to your render and it's just your render. Then we're going to bring in ambient occlusion, so just right click down here or go to effect. And then global illumination, and these two just greatly increase the quality of your render. So for example, if I were to just render this part very quickly, we can get an idea of what it would look like. So there we go. That looks pretty decent. That's not bad at all. I can tell that the tube has a bit of like some non-spherical edges, so we're just going to increase the rotation segments, make sure that's nice and smooth. There we are. And so yeah, let's just go ahead and there we go. That seems perfect. And oh, and also when you have a material, like for example, like something like this, a scratched metal, it's essential for you to go into the material settings. So after you've dragged and dropped it onto your whatever, your logo or whatever, you want to click on the material here. See where it says projection, the default is UVW mapping, but that's very wrong, because if you have this on, you can't even see it. So you want to make sure that you have it on cubic, and that seamless is checked. Seamless makes sure that there's no, for example, like this, that this doesn't show up, that there's no rough edges, that everything is just a continuous texture. So I'm just going to render this out real quick, and we'll be right back in Photoshop. Alright, so now we're in Photoshop, and it's done rendering, and it's a very simple render, and but that's fine, because now we're just going to play around with it and add some cool effects to make it look good. So first things first, without even looking for a CC or anything, just duplicate your render, so Control J, or Command J if you're on Mac. On the duplicate, which is on the top, make sure you go to Filter, Filter Gallery, and then you're going to go down to Stylize, and then Glowing Edges. These are my settings. I've been using these, so I'm not sure if these are the default or not, but I haven't touched these at all. So 173, just click OK. And then it's going to make it look all weird, but that's fine because your duplicate is still right under it. So then you're going to go on the one that you just applied the filter to. You're going to change the blending mode to overlay, and then just turn down the opacity. And what this does is it adds a bit of darkness everywhere, and it sort of adds to the image. So I'll touch, but that's something that I always do. Now let's go ahead and look for a color correction. So I'm just going to drop this into my CC pack, and for those of you that don't know, this is for sale. These are all CCs that I have edited and or made myself. So if you guys are interested, I think there's over like 80 color corrections in here. It's huge. And so just go ahead and try out different color corrections. I think this is usually my favorite. Yeah, this one's going to be perfect. So let's just drag and drop that back into our setup here. Let's add a background, so black. So make a new layer, put it under everything. Make sure that your front color is black, so there you go. And then an Alt backspace, and that's the shortcut for fill. So, for example, if the front color is orange, for example, you hit Alt backspace, and it makes it orange. And then if you see the white color here, that's the back, that's Control backspace. So those are the two shortcuts for fill. I'm just going to leave it black though. There we go. And apply the color correction. So first thing I noticed is that the lighting is sort of messed up on my render, but that's fine. We can just fix that up immediately. What I would do is I would just, let's see, use the polygonal lasso tool. And then we're just going to select our logo, like so. Just get it all the way around. So we only need the front, so like so. And then you're going to do the same shortcut that I told you before, so Control backspace, and then Control D to unselect everything. I'm just going to make that overlay. And just like that, it's lightened everything up. But however, this is a bit too much. So just go to your eraser, make sure your opacity is on like, okay, soft eraser, this is essential. Soft brush, pretty large size, so 180, and then opacity down to 35, and then just click on the parts that are a bit too bright, like so, and that'll fix it up for you. There we go. So that's starting to look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now we need to make sure that this is the right dimension. So the correct dimensions for a logo is 800 by 800. This is for YouTube, Skype, all kinds of pictures. So 800 by 800, go ahead and make a new one. Let's make a black background, and then just drag and drop what we already have. So let's just merge our white layer because we're not going to be needing it anymore. So just select the two and then Control E. Shortcut to merge. Then we're going to go ahead and bring that in here. There we go. So the size is perfect. Let's go ahead and just center that. So just Control A while you're in the move tool. Make sure you're on this tool, and then just do Control A and then press this button right here and it'll center it. Like so. So yeah. So actually it's a bit too low, so I'm just gonna push that up a bit. There we go. Now we're gonna have to like start checking out some stocks that we can use. So let's just close the CC pack, and this is my stocks pack. Obviously also for sale in case you guys were interested. So this is one of my, like, honestly there's no other packs that I've seen as complete as this. It has a bunch of stuff that I always use, and it's the only pack that I use. So if you guys are interested in purchasing this, just let me know and send me a message on YouTube or on Skype. So let's cut back to the chase. Let's get some lighting in here. So this one is already made, obviously, but you can make your own lighting using a film, or using a brush, excuse me. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Make a new layer, get your brush, get a pretty large size. I'm guessing 400 should be alright, almost 500, and you're going to get any color. So I'm just go with green. Doesn't matter because we have a color correction on, so it'll turn blue anyways. And then make sure it's a soft brush. You're just gonna sort of make like a U here, like that. So it goes a bit deeper in the center, and then just turn down the opacity. And so just like that, you've got lighting. Let's just push that should be okay. I actually prefer the lighting, so it's fine. There we go. So that's for your lighting. Now we're gonna just use some other basic stuff like smoke. Smoke is essentially like a basic stock, but it looks great, especially if you just have a low opacity on it. It can look very, very good. Let's just make it a slight bit bigger. So if you guys don't know what I just did there, the shortcut for like transforming something is Control T, and then if you hold Shift and drag on the top arrow, it will make sure that the ratio is the same, so it doesn't go like this, it doesn't go all messed up. So just hold Shift while you do that, and make sure that it keeps it nice and even. Then I'm just gonna sort of, okay, so I'm just gonna go through all the shortcuts because I'm doing a lot of them now. Command J or Control J to duplicate, Control T to transform, right click, flip horizontal, and obviously what that does is it mirrors it. And so now that these two are here, we're just gonna go like that, have them blend a bit. So just take off these lines that are clearly separating the two stocks, and so this way it looks a bit more natural. There we go. And then we're just going to select both and turn down the opacity to something visible but nothing too excessive. There we go, that should be good. So 50%, that's good. Now let's use a speck, and so these are like particles. This is a pretty old stock, but I still like to use it. And so then what I like to do is, let's see, something like here, turn down the opacity a bit, and then use your eraser, and then just make it so that it's more visible on the very outer edges. So it'll just be like, it's a very minor detail, but everything counts, the bells and the details. So just, I try to keep everything quite symmetrical. That's fine, you don't have to do any of this. Just make sure that you keep everything you want, and just like that, that should be good. And now we're just going to apply some of the last few things like the texture. So let's just get some grunge in here. That should be perfect. And we'll just put this right behind everything else. So like that, got some nice grunge in there. Alright. So, let me just fix up this. Alright. Let's just, I think that's almost essentially it. So now we just need to add text, obviously. And you're just going to get your type tool. wait for it to open up. And this is just the font that I've been using ever since the logo setup. It looks pretty decent. It's not bad at all. It's an old font, but it's great. So it's True Lies, and then I'll just put Acatix, just like that. And if, for example, if it were team, you would do the same thing. You would just put like phase and then space, and then you let the player be able to fill in names, and you put change name here, and that way it's more customizable. Then for the color, on top of the color correction, you're just going to bring in a hue and saturation. So if it's not up here, just go down to this like little yin yang thing, and then go to hue and saturation, and then just put like change color here. Make sure the instructions are simple, because players aren't very good at this sort of stuff. So that way, whenever you scroll through the hue, you'll be able to pick your own color. So let's just stick to the blue, which I like. There we go. And text, make sure that it's either very visible, or I would just turn on the opacity pad just to make it look like it blends in more. And that's actually it, guys. So this is a very basic text setup, or logo setup, excuse me. So this is what I would start off with. Then you can obviously start experimenting more and more with whatever you use. Then, just to make it very simple for people that are in clans, so for example, let's say you're the clan leader and you want to make everybody logos, what I would do is I'd select all the stocks, so only the images, not the text or anything, drag and drop it into a group, call it setup, there we go. And that way, the only things that you have to worry about is just changing the name and then changing the color. So that's it, guys. Hopefully this helped you out, because if it did, make sure you drop a like and a comment, because I haven't uploaded a tutorial in a very, very, very long time. So I would really appreciate it if you could show this video some love. Alright, guys, so peace out and stay sexy.